16 of the fantasy football season. Here's the top 12 defense DST units. I'm ranking this week number 1, the Green Bay Packers. This week a great matchup. New Orleans Saints coming to town. Their offense is decimated. Seems to be Spencer Rattler, Jake Haener in their quarterback. I think Rattler's going to start. They took Haener out second half. And at least the offense moved with Rattler in their quarterback over Alvin Kamara possibly out with a groin/abductor injury. We know Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, they've both been out for a while, not playing in this game. Taysom Hill not playing out for the season. So with all those factors and not a true number 1 wide receiver on this roster and a team that's had trouble scoring the football this season, and Green Bay just going into Seattle and holding down a good offense. This Packer defense, I think, has a big game. Number 2, the Buffalo Bills. So this Buffalo Bill DST, obviously the last couple weeks, they got the doors blown off. 44 points in week 14, gave up to the Rams in a tough loss. And then last week, giving up 42 points to the Lions. So this week, a better matchup, no doubt about it, versus New England Patriots. An offense that can't play catch up. They don't have capability of putting a lot of points on the board. Even though Drake May showed some flashes, he still turns the football over. He's still a rookie, and I think this Bill team could take advantage of that. And now that they're back home after those 2 road indoor games, and I think they get back to basics and put up a decent number. Number 3, the Minnesota Vikings, one of the better defenses in the league. They get to the quarterback. They make you earn every point, led by their defensive coordinator, Brian Flores. And they really create havoc on quarterbacks. So this week at Seattle, Geno Smith looks like they're hopeful he's going to play in this game, but he's not going to be 100%, where he hurt the ankle in last week's ball game versus the Green Bay Packers. And if they could get pressure on him early and often, and also if this Viking team gets off to an early lead, that's where the defense really tees off. And we saw it last week versus the Bears, where they got off to a nice start, and Caleb just couldn't do anything until some garbage time points late in that one. Number 4, the Denver Broncos. So the Broncos, I know it's not the greatest of matchups this week at the Los Angeles Chargers on Thursday Night Football, but Denver, they got one of the best defenses in the league, obviously led by arguably the best corner in the league in Patrick Surtain. So Denver, they get to the quarterback, they create turnovers, and they get pick sixes. Now they've got 3 pick sixes is this Denver Bronco team in the last 2 ball games. So they're going out there, defense is flying around, they're putting pressure on the quarterback. And this week, even on the fast track indoors, I think they could get pressure on Herbert in this ball game. And also, we know this Charger run offense is non-existent ever since J.K. Dobbins went down. Number 5, the Atlanta Falcons. So the Atlanta Falcons, a great matchup versus the New York Giants coming to town. We don't know if it's Tim Boyle, Drew Lock, Tommy DeVito, but any one of those options just seems like it could be a good day for a defense. Well, this Atlanta Falcon team, they do get pressure on the quarterback, but they've been leaky in the secondary. But this week, like I said, with a bad offensive line of the New York Giants and poor quarterback play, no matter who the quarterback's going to be coming into this game, I think Atlanta could go out there, they could put up some points. And now, this defense, they're going to want to make it a little easier for Michael Penix, where he doesn't have to put up tons of points on the board in his NFL debut. Number 6, the Arizona Cardinals. So this Cardinal defense, they've definitely been playing better over the last month of the season. And this week, a great matchup versus the Carolina Panthers. So going to Carolina, I know this Panther offense has definitely been a little bit better since Bryce Young's been reinserted into the starting lineup. But their weapons are obviously limited. Besides Chuba Hubbard, Adam Thielen, there's not much of a threat going on. So this Cardinal defense, like I said, they've shut down some good offenses this season. Got to travel pretty far from Arizona and Carolina. But I still believe this defense will travel well in this game and be a solid option for owning. Number 7, the Detroit Lions. I know last week they got the doors blown off, but that was Josh Allen at quarterback, and this is Caleb Williams and this Bear offense. Even though I'll give them credit, a few weeks ago, Thanksgiving, they came back from a big margin with Chicago, and if he made a couple better throws and the time management, obviously, which got Matt Eberflus fired, that could have been a different ball game where the Bears pulled it out, or minimum it went to overtime. But I think Detroit, after getting embarrassed in terms of giving up all those points on the scoreboard last week, they focus on defense. Dan Campbell's not going to be happy the way that ball game went down and the bad performance from the defense. I think this week versus a young Bear offense with Caleb Williams behind center, they're going to take it out on them after taking a bad loss in last week's game. Number 8, the Cincinnati Bengals, is a 1-week streaming option is the Cincinnati Bengal team. It's a good matchup versus the Cleveland Browns, another decimated team. Nick Chubb broke his foot. He's out for the season. Jameis Winston, he got benched. He's been a turnover machine. But to be honest, I don't think Dorian Thompson-Robinson gives them the best chance if they want to try to win this ball game as Cleveland. So I think Cincinnati could get pressure on them a little bit in this ball game. And Cincinnati gets off to a hot start. The way their offense has been scoring all season long, even though I know they're 6-8 on the season. It's going to make it tougher with Dorian Thompson-Robinson with not running the football and being one-dimensional. So I think Cincinnati is a surprising streamer this week. Have a good ball game. Number 9, the Indianapolis Colts, so another streaming option. Mason Rudolph starting this week for the Tennessee Titans. And Mason Rudolph, I know he's had some moments with the Steelers the last couple years. I know early in the year he started a couple games. He didn't look totally bad, was Mason Rudolph. But Indianapolis back home, and this defense, they've been a stout group at times. I know they've given up a decent amount of points, but in terms of sacks and creating turnovers, it's been there for them. And this week here with Mason Rudolph, who don't have a big arm, he does take a lot of sacks in games we've seen him start throughout his career, and he's maybe good for a pick or two. I think Indianapolis, they could put in a decent performance, and also the mid-teens, low 20s, I believe the score will end out to be. Giving up number 10, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Houston Texans coming to town. I know on paper this offense looks great. Joe Mixon, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, CJ Stroud, but Stroud struggled mightily this season. He's definitely had a sophomore slump, and he was that 6th or 7th quarterback off the board. So a lot of quarterbacks, they've struggled this season, and Stroud is one of them, and it's a tough environment. Saturday ball game at Arrowhead with Patrick Mahomes, I believe, is going to play in this one as well. So I think Stroud, he's going to turn over the football a few times, and he's another quarterback who's been holding on to it too long and taking some sacks. So this week, I think Kansas City, even in not a great matchup on paper, goes out there as a top 10 performance. Number 11, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So this Buc defense has improved over the last couple weeks here. Last week, they went into the Chargers, and they destroyed them 40-17. And this week, Sunday Night Football with the Dallas Cowboys. And Tampa Bay, if they get off to an early lead, we know what Cooper Rush, your quarterback. This Cowboy offense, they don't play catch-up well, where they want to run the football, take some time off the clock, and have Cooper Rush pick his spots and be accurate. But like I said, if Tampa's up 10, 14 points, this is where the defense comes into play, makes Cooper Rush one-dimensional, and Cooper Rush is just not that quarterback that could play from behind. So I think that's where they'll get the advantage, get a few sacks, and create a few turnovers and hold this Cowboy offense in the mid-20s, worst-case scenario. And the 12th and final defense I'm ranking this week is the San Francisco 49ers. I know the defense hasn't been great this season, but I'll give them some credit. Last week, they held down a great offense in the Los Angeles Rams, down to only 12 points, even though they lost the game and the conditions weren't all that great. But this week, traveling to Miami, I know Tua has been a way better quarterback throughout his career at home than he's been on the road, but he's still taking his sacks. He still has a decent amount of turnovers, even at home at times as too. And this 49er team, they know the season's on the brink, and they got to win out pretty much if they want to take the division. So this week, I think they get back to the basics as the defense. I know they had a lot of lapses and blown some fourth quarter leads, but this week in Miami, maybe they'll create a few turnovers and definitely get a few sacks, where this Miami O-line isn't that good. It's a top 12 defense DST units I'm ranking for Week 16 of the fantasy football season.